They chased perfection, but what they got was something else entirely. From icons who stunned the world with jaw-dropping glow-ups to stars who vanished from Hollywood after one bad cut too many. This is the unfiltered truth behind the most shocking celebrity surgeries of all time. Think Kylie Jenner's billion-dollar lips, Cher's unapologetic reinvention at 79, and Pete Burns' transformation that nearly cost him his life. But it gets deeper, because some of these stars didn't just tweak their image, they changed their entire identity. And one even transitioned, not once, but twice, and is speaking out in 2025. From scalpel to spotlight, fame has a price, and in this video, we're showing you every scar, every regret, and every unbelievable comeback. So, buckle up, because what you're about to see isn't filtered, face-tuned, or fan-approved. It's the real story behind the world's most dramatic celebrity transformations, and why some would do it all again, while others wish they never had. From comedian to cover girl, how Elliot Page stunned the world post-surgery. Elliot Page's transformation wasn't just physical, it was cultural. Once best known for his Oscar-nominated performance in Juno and dry-witted comedic timing in films like Whip It and Hard Candy, Elliot made global headlines in December 2020 when he came out as transgender. But the real turning point came in 2021 when he revealed his top surgery, a deeply personal step that also had enormous public impact. The first shirtless photo he posted on Instagram wasn't just a flex, it was a declaration. Page looked not only physically transformed, but at ease, smiling, toned, and visibly proud. That single image was reposted by major outlets from Vogue to Vanity Fair, with many hailing it as a cultural milestone. In 2022, he became the first trans man to appear on the cover of Time magazine, opening up about gender dysphoria, Hollywood's pressures, and how surgery saved his life. What followed wasn't just applause, it was a renaissance. He returned to the Umbrella Academy as Victor Hargreaves, a role subtly reimagined to reflect Elliot's real-life identity without reducing it to a plot device. More discerning fans will appreciate that Victor's storyline was informed by input from trans writers and consultants, giving it rare authenticity in a genre often built on masks. By 2025, Page is not just a symbol, he's a working actor, author, page boy still sells, and quietly one of the most influential queer voices in entertainment. And that, perhaps, is the real glow-up, a journey from performance to presence, from hiding to living out loud. The plastic surgery that finally made Mickey Rourke unrecognizable. Mickey Rourke was once Hollywood's dark prince of brooding intensity, a heartthrob with a boxer's jaw and a rebel's soul. But by the time he re-emerged in The Wrestler, 2008, audiences were stunned. The chiseled features that made him iconic in 9.5 Weeks and Angel Heart had been replaced by a swollen, surgically altered visage. Rourke never denied it. In fact, he openly admitted that much of the damage stemmed from his brief but brutal boxing career in the 90s, which led to multiple facial fractures. He entrusted his face to what he later called the wrong guy, undergoing several reconstructive surgeries that ultimately left him nearly unrecognizable. What's wild is that by 2025, Mickey has had at least 7 documented facial procedures, including cheekbone implants, nose reconstructions, and lip enhancements. In interviews, he's joked about it, calling his surgeon choices a series of bad fights outside the ring. But it wasn't all vanity. His cheekbones had collapsed from past injuries, and early surgeries were aimed at restoring functionality as much as looks. The problem? Overcorrection. Still, there's something undeniably Rourke about him, even now. He rocks long hair, flamboyant suits, and a devil-may-care attitude that defies Hollywood norms. He continues to work in indie films and international projects, embracing his new look rather than hiding it. And maybe that's the weird magic. Mickey Rourke may not look like he did in 1986, but in a town obsessed with eternal youth, he's somehow become more punk, more unpredictable, and oddly more himself than ever. Demi Moore's face at 62. The internet thought it was AI. When Demi Moore walked the runway at Paris Fashion Week in 2021, jaws dropped, but not necessarily in admiration. Her angular cheeks, taut skin, and almost sculpted appearance sparked a social media firestorm. By 2025, at 62, Moore's face had become a trending topic more than once, with many mistaking recent photos for AI-generated images. The uncanny smoothness of her skin, especially in candid or red carpet appearances, led some fans to ask, is that even real? But Moore, who's long been a fitness and wellness advocate, has largely sidestepped the speculation. Back in the early 2000s, she was one of the first actresses rumored to spend six figures on cosmetic procedures ahead of her Charlie's Angels Full Throttle role, though she never confirmed the price tag. Surgeons not associated with her have suggested subtle facelifts, fillers, and possibly buccal fat removal, especially after her mid-2020s appearances suggested a more hollowed facial structure. More discerning fans even broke down side-by-side comparisons between Ghost and Indecent Proposal, trying to decode every microscopic shift in her bone structure. But here's the kicker. Demi has also aged incredibly well through non-surgical means. She swears by yoga, raw veganism, and disciplined skincare. In fact, she once told Harper's Bazaar that her biggest secret was sleep and hydration, a classic Hollywood dodge, but maybe partly true. Whatever she's doing, it's working, because in an age of AI filters and digital illusions, Demi Moore still manages to look like a mystery wrapped in Dior. And love it or not, she's still breaking the internet one wrinkle-free selfie at a time. Caitlyn Jenner at 76, what she now regrets about her transition. At 76, Caitlyn Jenner remains one of the most high-profile transgender figures in the world, but her journey hasn't been without its complexities, and she's been surprisingly candid about the part she'd do differently. Since publicly coming out in 2015 during that landmark Vanity Fair cover shoot, Call Me Caitlyn, she's undergone facial feminization surgery, breast augmentation, and gender confirmation surgery, all of which she's discussed openly. But as of 2025, Jenner has expressed some emotional and personal regrets, not about transitioning itself, but about the fallout that followed. In recent interviews, including a frank 2023 sit-down with The Times, Caitlyn admitted that her relationship with the broader LGBTQ+ community became strained. She faced criticism for her conservative political views, particularly during her brief 2021 gubernatorial run in California, which led some trans activists to distance themselves from her. "I wish I had taken more time to listen," she said, reflecting on the backlash. On a personal level, she has spoken about loneliness after transition, though she's remained close to some of her children, including Brandon and Bird. Others, like the Kardashian clan, have appeared more distant in recent years. Jenner admitted that fame sometimes got in the way of truly healing. Still, there's no denying her impact. The I Am Kate docuseries broke barriers, and she was honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award in 2015. But as she often reminds people now, transitioning didn't solve everything. It's not the surgeries she regrets, it's the missed connections and the moments she wishes she'd approached with more humility and less spotlight. Kenny Rogers couldn't smile anymore, and fans noticed. By the time Kenny Rogers took his final bow in 2020, fans weren't just mourning his music, they were still buzzing about his appearance. The gravel-voiced legend who gave the world The Gambler and Lucille had, in his later years, undergone such drastic plastic surgery that even his own expressions seemed to vanish. By 2025, the legacy of those procedures remains a topic of discussion in cosmetic cautionary tales. Rogers never denied it. In fact, he spoke openly about the changes, admitting on CBS's This Morning that he regretted getting his eyelids done. "It made me look differently than I ever intended," he confessed, adding that he had wanted to stay youthful for his wife and career, but it backfired. The once warm, squinting eyes that made his duets with Dolly Parton so endearing were replaced by a permanently wide-eyed stare. Facial fillers and possible lifts left his cheeks unusually smooth, and by the late 2000s, even smiling appeared strained. Fans noticed. Some thought it was health-related. Others just missed the old Kenny. Interestingly, he still sang beautifully and maintained his iconic voice almost to the end, but his visual presence was diminished. What makes it even more tragic is that Rogers had been considered one of the more ruggedly handsome stars of his genre in the 70s and 80s. His